Welcome inside our CBS Sports studios. I'm Adam Schein alongside my guy, the great Kyle Long. Kyle, speaking of greatness, how about them Cowboys? I don't want to hear that was, quote-unquote, just the Jets. This offense, Dak Prescott and company, they are flying high, and they've been doing this, Kyle, all season long.
I don't care who you're playing, where you're playing. Wins in the National Football League are hard to come by. And whooping somebody's butt like that is even harder to do. And I got to give a ton of credit to Coach Schottenheimer.
Yep.
Much was made about the hiring, obviously letting McCarthy out of the building. A lot has been made of this. And the one guy who has just been a stalwart the entire time is Dak Prescott. He has played himself into that early MVP conversation. He is who we thought he was. He's tough. He's a leader. He can make all the throws. And nothing has affected this offense more than when CeeDee Lamb went down. And obviously, we're going to get CeeDee Lamb back for the Dallas Cowboys, hopefully sooner rather than later for Cowboys fans. But I look at the guys that have stepped up. And George Pickens, another big question mark. He comes to town. Which version of George Pickens are we going to see? George Pickens going off. 5 receiving touchdowns in 5 games. That's the most by a Cowboys player since 1970. That's the merger, buddy. George Pickens has showed up to play. And without CeeDee Lamb in the lineup, it just elevates the need for him to be a leader offensively. Somebody he can lean on. Throw him the ball. He's down there somewhere. The offensive line has matured in a big way. But the big question mark, out of all the question marks in Dallas, is that defense. Because, look, we know that Dallas is going to lead the league after this week in yards per game. Okay, they're better than the Bills in terms of production on offense. But Matt Eberflus's defense, dead last in the NFL. I'll have to check that number after this week because they played a better game than usual. But teams are scoring 30 points on them. Thank God they're scoring 40 points a week, Adam.
So a couple things I want to hit on based upon what you said brilliantly. Number one, I will always and forever believe that if Micah Parsons was still on the Dallas Cowboys, they would have won the division. That's what I said all offseason because I thought the Dallas Cowboys had a sensational offseason. The George Pickens move was unbelievable. The draft was excellent. And Dak was coming back. Last time we saw Dak Prescott play a full season, he was number 2 on my ballot in 2023 for MVP. Kyle, you reference it. I want to slam it home, especially when you talk about how bad the defense has been. Right now, Dak Prescott is top 2. It's early, but top 2 for NFL MVP.
And the other guy is 40 years old. So you never know what's going to happen in the National Football League. And the thing that I respect most about Dak Prescott, in the face of adversity, all the questions about the Dallas Cowboys, the Micah Parsons debacle, obviously heavy hand of Jerry Jones being involved, he just keeps his foot on the gas and says, I don't care what's going around me. When I was playing for the Chicago Bears, we had some rough seasons. And my dad used to text me in some of the hardest weeks. And he says, I don't care if the sky's falling around you, you keep swinging your sword. And that's what Dak Prescott has done for this organization. As to your point about Micah Parsons, I would argue that him leaving was the impetus for these guys taking the next step. And I think in Brian Schottenheimer's locker room, he is more concerned with the team than the stars. Ironically enough, they play at the Star. But Schottenheimer's got a great group. They're playing together. Guys are stepping up, making big-time plays, and it's got to be fun to be a Cowboys fan watching this group and knowing the reinforcements in CeeDee Lamb, who's got the chops out of him.
Lamb's got the chops.
Is going to be back soon.
Lamb, when he comes back, this offense is going to be explosive. And I remember what Stephen Jones said to me on my SiriusXM radio show after they made the trade, that he doesn't view George Pickens as a 2. He's a 1A. CeeDee Lamb is a legit top 4 receiver in the NFL. Jake Ferguson, 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games.
The drought is over.
0 in his prior 22. How about Javonte Williams? For all the conversation last year, right, they didn't pick up the phone, they didn't call Derrick Henry. Henry was on my show, said, I wish they would have called. He lives right by the stadium. Listen, it took a year. Williams has been unbelievable. And I'm telling you, especially because of the way, to your point, Schotty has coached these guys up, I think Dallas is going to be a force. Now, obviously, they had that loss in a game they could have won against Philly to start the season.
Take a look at the middle
Giants, third. But hold on for a second, Kyle. They lost against Chicago, the tie against Green Bay. They beat the Jets. Carolina coming up. They're going to win. I think they can beat the Washington Commanders. I don't think Washington is great. Sure, it's a tough stretch with Denver and Arizona. You have the Raiders, you have the Eagles, you have the Chiefs, you have the Lions, you have the Vikings. I think this team is good enough to win 9 or 10 games and be in the conversation all year.
And it will come down, Adam, to that stretch between November 23rd and December 4th, where the Dallas Cowboys will get to host the Philadelphia Eagles, they will get to host the Kansas City Chiefs, and then they're going to have to go into the Lions' Den and play Detroit. And when I look at these three teams at full strength, there's a lot of points going to be scored. And if I had to throw some money on either one of these quarterbacks in these type of shootout games, Dak Prescott's a guy who has the hot hand. And until he's off the field, that's the guy that I'm going to have faith in. The only one that I think he can't really control his destiny on is that Kansas City Chiefs game. Patrick Mahomes looks like him right now.
Well, and Mahomes obviously coming off of an unbelievable performance, a vintage 4-touchdown performance. But Kyle, I'm telling you, when you look at this, right, and I still have massive concerns here for the defense, even though they did a nice job. You know, that Justin Fields did a really nice job in terms of moving the ball against Miami, and Garrett Wilson is a freak, and these guys were really bottled up. Let's give the Dallas defense and Matt Eberflus some credit. But to your point, can Prescott outscore? Forget Carolina. And Carolina had a great comeback win. They should will beat, handle prosperity and success and beat the Carolina Panthers. Are they good enough on offense? Are they well coached enough when healthy to beat Washington, Denver? Arizona's not a cupcake. And then beat the Raiders, beat Philadelphia. They were that close in week number 1. I really think people are sleeping here on how great, not good, great the Cowboys can be this year.
Yeah, and I want to tip my cap to the offensive line as well.
Excellent
Because
point.
when I got in the league, it was guys like Tyron Smith, and then Zach Martin came along, Travis Frederick, a bunch of all-pros, who's who at the Pro Bowl. They were all wearing stars on their helmets in Hawaii for a while. Well, that went away, and now you get the new regime coming in the offensive line. They're starting to gel, okay? So we've got the two Tylers. You've got a number of guys there in the Cowboys offensive line room that have been growing together, and it bodes very well for Schottenheimer. The playbook is open. You mentioned Javonte Williams. We can run it. We can throw it. We've got the general there at quarterback. That's a lot of good stuff. You got to make some stops defensively, though.
The Dallas Cowboys, underrated. Just saying.